it was easy to give him the leftovers. And I got to a point where I didn't want to just give him the leftovers.
You can love people now over profits, whereas
if they sit there and just dwell in that, they're not going to get out of it. Take it on yourself and get yourself out of it.
Is how to take care of your people and make sure you keep humans. Welcome to the Rethreading Lives podcast, where we talk about how to take your threads of harm and through the rethreaded process, transform them into something that actually helps you reach your potential. We'll talk with different leaders in our city and our country and find out what they're doing. You'll walk away from listening to this podcast with useful insights and captivating stories on how you yourself can rethread your life and your business. I'm Kristen Keene, and this is the Rethreading Lives podcast. Welcome to Rethreading Lives podcast. Today we have some deeply good progressive leaders on our podcast today. We're very excited to have Matt and Robyn Roberts as our guests today. Matt runs a custom home company, Riverside Homes. Robyn volunteers with us. She's ran preschools. She's fundraised lots of money. She's on our Circle of Sisters. She's been the president of the Circle of Sisters. She helps us make toffee now. And they have been a very big part of Rethreaded.
yes, since I guess let you guys tell us how long you've been with us, but it's been years.
We were thinking it was either 2014 or 15.
Is that long?
It was the first
Oh, yeah.
introduction.
Was it Mukti?
It
Was our
at Mukti.
gala?
That's right.
Okay.
At the
I remember
library,
this now.
when it was at the library.
Oh, gosh. That's right. Couldn't get the lights to dim.
It was bright.
That's right. So we're going to brag about you a little bit because I know you won't do it for yourself. So Matt and Robyn are examples of extreme generosity. And for the past 4 years, at our birthday party, Riverside Homes, who is not a large company. They're not a large corporation. They're local to Jacksonville. They're home builders in Jacksonville, has donated over $30,000 every year at our birthday and done an amazing birthday match, which most of the time we end up matching.
Yes, catalyzed other people to
Catalyzed.
behave differently and to rise to the challenge that they've created. Yeah.
So at this past birthday, Riverside Homes dedicated $30,000 going into it, and then at the birthday party added $10,000 more dollars, and then it encouraged someone else to match.
Mm-hmm.
Then someone else gave $10,000 at the event, and at our birthday party, our 12th birthday party, we raised over $90,000, catalyzed by deeply good progressive leaders.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the most powerful things that we've heard them say is when you asked them, and maybe you'll get into that later, but how do you know when to give and how much to give? And y'all said, till it hurts. And I mean, it was humbling. It was humbling. Powerful, powerful comment that if people could get in, and hopefully we can dig into that a little while. Because my guess is you would say you can't outgive God. And so it's not done for the give back, but it's impossible to happen to outgive. And most of us live too scared to give at that level. So I'm looking forward to actually hearing about that as we dig into really what y'all have brought to us. I mean, what it's not about Rethreaded today. It's really about what we've learned from you guys.
And that's, maybe you guys can start. Where are you now? What does your life look like now? Family, friends, business.
You want to take that one?
Sure. So we have been married for 23 years. We have 3 children and a daughter-in-law. So our oldest is 23 and he's married to Hannah, and they live here in Jacksonville, which is awesome. And then our daughter Leela is about to be 21 and she's at Auburn. And then we have our youngest Davis, who's 17 and he's a junior in high school.
So one left at home.
One left.
One left.
Sometimes he's home.
Yeah, he's not home
Valid.
very often.
17.
We're learning empty nesting
Empty nesting
now.
is coming
It's like
quicker
it's
than we thought.
preparing you for it.
Yeah.
How are y'all doing with that?
We're great. I mean, it's we're excited for empty nesting in 2 years, but it's funny how the past couple of weeks we've been like, well, another dinner alone. So, but it's great. It's great.
So tell me a little bit the background of Riverside Homes, because I know you started it.
Mm-hmm. I was with a national home builder here in Jacksonville through the Great Recession, and had looked at opportunities, and really we've been praying about being able to move to a more faith-based company or faith-based, not career. I was going to stay in home building. And we were both praying about it a lot, and an opportunity came up with the Wood family. Chris Wood is my partner, my managing partner, and Rick Wood is his father, who's also a partner in the business. I met Rick and struck up a relationship about a mission that he does in Haiti, which is amazing. And we just built a relationship and got to know the family, and then they approached me about this opportunity. We felt that the timing was right to start a home building business. At that time, it was probably winter of 2012. We talked all through the summer, and then in October of 2012, we started it. It was our first breaking ground, and so that was it. So a little bit over 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
And when did the custom, is that a new thing, or is that?
So our second community was Atlantic Beach Country Club, the old Selva Marina Golf and Country Club. And it was a higher level home. Our first community was Durban Crossing, which is pretty production, which is where I'd come from. That was my background, was more production. So when we started in Atlantic Beach Country Club, we built a model that was outstanding and was very well received. And a lot of people would come in and see the model and say, well, I have a lot over here on the numbered streets in Atlantic Beach, or I have this oceanfront lot, and can you build a house? And that kind of started our custom division. I say our custom division. I think in 16 or 17, we realized that the more production business was 80% of our business, but Chris and I were spending 80% of our time on the custom, and it wasn't really working. We needed to have better time management. So we brought in a gentleman, Matt Birdwell, who was a blessing to us, a godly man. And he had owned his own home building company for 10 years in Jacksonville, and was just ready to get with a group after coming out of the recession. He said it was kind of lonely doing his own thing. And so I actually went to 8th grade with him and hadn't seen him since 8th grade, just a random. But he came on board, and so now he's the president of our custom division. And so we have two divisions. We have kind of a production, a step-up production, and a custom division.
And what you did, you had the Better Homes and Gardens home, right?
We had
what year was
the
it?
2019 Southern Living Idea
Southern
House.
Living, I'm sorry.
Up in Crane Island and Amelia Island.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Oof.
That's a big deal.
That was a labor of love. So in 2018, Southern Living had selected Crane Island as one of their sponsored neighborhoods. And there were 3 builders in Crane Island. So they met with us, and I believe it was in September. We all met, all the builders, the developer, and Southern Living, and talked about the idea house, and talked about just kind of the logistics of how it would go, when it would come out, when it would be published. And in September, they were asked if the builders were interested. We were all interested, and then asked when. We asked when would we build it and when would it have to be ready, and they said it just has to be done by May. And we were like, okay, of what year? And they said, no, this coming May. And this was September. There was no plan, not even a concept of what you were going to build. So we were fortunate enough to be selected to actually do the building, and we started plan design right in October, broke ground in December, and they moved in. We finished it May 1st, and they moved in May and opened at the end of May, I believe. So that was it was insane. It was absolutely insane for in 6 months to build that house with the designers and the products, because it's a commercial sponsorship. So the products and everything that go into that they're donated or on a discount for Southern Living preferred vendors. You would not be able to do that now. After the pandemic hit, there would be no possible way of building a house.
Oh, in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal because then you're featured in an issue of Southern
Living. Yeah.
Southern Living. I was like, Southern.
Which Southern?
Southern grounds.
What did that do? Did that catapult your business, or did all of a sudden you get slammed and now you go from crazy to crazier?
That was it's interesting. That was the 2019 Idea House. And then the pandemic hit right after. So it definitely gave us a visibility that we had never had before. But it's hard to gauge whether that was a catalyst or the pandemic, because the pandemic was absolutely a catalyst for both sides of our business. So it's hard to gauge. It definitely gave us a notoriety and a visibility that we had never had before. But then it just, for all builders, it went gangbusters.
I remember that. I remember you had to say no to business.
Oh, yeah. We were on the custom side, we were having to turn down business. And on the production side, we were having to limit how many we would sell in a community. I mean, we could have sold 20 a month in a community, but we can't build 20 a month. And so it just doesn't make sense to sell it if you can't build it.
Is it back to normal? Whatever the normal means.
Yeah, whatever that means for the moment.
No, it is coming back to normal. Labor is still tight. Not as tight as it was. Cycle times are getting better, but not what they were. And costs are absolutely not back to normal. Other than lumber, costs are about the same as they were at the height.
Wow.
So it went up and it's not coming back down.
It went up and it has not come back down. That's right.
Oh, no, I can't afford a house anymore in Jacksonville.
I know. That's what's really hard.
Affordability is an issue. And then you compound that with the increased rates, and it's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's a problem.
Where did you attend that? I'm sorry, it could be. I'm just really quick. NEFBA. Did you go to the NEFBA presentation, or was it Chris that was there? Yeah, you were there. And it was about middle housing. And he showed the amount of inventory available in Jacksonville that was under like 350,000, and there was like zero, no inventory. It was
and where crazy. It is, I mean, it's all in one area. You know, it's not any of the other areas, which he was all about combining those, trying to really combine the levels of housing. And his zoning explanation was fascinating. The history of zoning, I did not know. I mean, it was specifically tied to racism and justice. Yeah, so of course it was wild. Yeah. That was a good.
Yeah, he told me about that. That was fascinating.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
All right. We're just going to start digging a little bit. So you all have lived some beautiful lives. You're married 23 years. You have amazing children, run a great business. What values has kind of guided your life?
I think for me personally, it's being very intentional with my time, our money, with each other, with community. I just got to a point in my life, it's been a while now, where I knew I had to focus in on what was really important to me and not be pulled in 1,000 different directions, especially when I was raising young kids and working and having a husband and him working long hours. You had to make decisions of, this is what's really important to me, and I'm going to be focused on these things. And I think that's created an environment in our home where I'm more focused on relationships and the things that matter, at least to me, what I think matters in life, which are really people. So anything to do with people, helping people, giving them time, that's really what I've decided to be more intentional about.
Well, that is, we talk about time a lot at Rethreaded because it's part of the Rethreaded process. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's the most precious resource. It's non-renewable. You don't get it back. And it's the great equalizer because everyone is given the same amount of hours in every single day. And intentionality is huge.
Yeah. Did it come natural? Did you learn that from your parents? Did you hit a crisis in life and realize, oh my God, I got to do this different? How did you land it?
I mean, I don't think it was like one specific thing. I think I've always been somebody who's a planner. So I'm a list maker, I'm a planner, all of those things.
I don't relate at all.
I know. You've asked me that. Yeah. You're like, am I more like Matt? Maybe. Am I more like you? Who's like that in your house?
No one.
She was like that at 19.
Yeah, I was a list maker at 19. Like, I've been making lists
What's
forever.
Davis like? Is he more like me?
No, he's so funny because he's a creative one, you know. But it's funny. He is very organized and very detailed.
Yeah.
So crazy. He got that right brain, but like, so anyway, I think part of it is I like to, yes, have a plan. And so I think for me being intentional, but I think sometimes the list can be too long. I think my lists were getting too long of everything I wanted to do. And so for me, the intentionality became about time and what was really important and not saying yes to everything. Learning to say no to people was something that I had to learn because I'm a people pleaser too. So I had a mentor that really talked about that, about the time you have with your kids is it's limited, it's precious. So don't let everything else pull you in a million different directions when it's important to. And I feel like for our relationship, it was easy to give him the leftovers. And I got to a point where I didn't want to just give him the leftovers. So just being intentional about all that. But yeah, I think time is important because you never know. Also, I always think about, I mean, not to be morbid, but I think like you never know how much time you have. So I'm going to give it my all in all my relationships while I can.
Well, that's part of the process. Like openness is being absolutely honest. And the truth is we're all going to die and we don't know how much time we have. I mean, and a lot of people just don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. So it's not on their radar. So yeah, it's extremely honest. And I think that leads to openness and then allows you to make decisions differently. And yeah.
Do you want to talk through the wheel? The different, not wheel, but the sphere and the ingredients that we've been talking about for a while.
Quick. So this is my example.
Visual.
I'm visual of everything. The ingredients of the rethreading process are time, which is the ability to sit with your thread, the time to be intentional to what's important. Purpose is what you're created for. Vision is the belief that things can change. There's hope for the future. You're working for something. You can take risk. Community, which is allowing someone else to help you in life and you help them. It's having trust-filled relationships. Sometimes community is when you don't have hope, they carry your hope until you can hold it. And then openness, which is the ability to be honest about your thread and then be vulnerable about it. So that's the idea is that they're not in order, they work together, and that as you heal and as you invest into these ingredients, your capacity, your potential increases. So your ability to hold hard things and good things in life expand and increase, and you can become more and more living out your purpose and who you're created to be. That's it in a sphere. Not a nutshell, but a sphere.
Yeah, and the more those ingredients are in, the bigger the sphere. And the moment you start draining those ingredients, the sphere just decreases. And so you build this life around these values, and I know we didn't get to use, so you might want to throw it to you and talk about, what kind of values brought y'all to make the decisions that you make.
Well, they've evolved. I think I've grown a lot. But I think starting out, and which has been a core, has been just hard work. I think God created us to work. And ownership, extreme ownership, taking ownership for yourself. I think those things, and if I can pour that into my kids, that if you put your head down and work, don't blame others. Look at yourself first, and then ultimately put other people first. But I think those are the things, the hard work and the ownership have been the central thread. And then since then, it's grown. She has been such an influence on me on spirituality and love. So I've grown in that a lot, but the work and the ownership and hopefully the humbleness has not changed, right? That's been the core through the whole thing. And I think it's afforded us to get where we are.
Yeah, I mean, again, it expands your capacity.
Right.
Y'all's potential to make a change in the world is coming from hard work, which is purpose. I have a reason for being here.
Right.
And accountability is openness.
Yeah.
Both openness to what's real is real. I'm good. I'm not good, whatever. And I'm transparent to the people outside of me, whether I'm there. Intentionality and time. I mean, these are the ingredients. So y'all may not have used those words, but you built them into your life, which expanded your potential. And now you're having a massive impact beyond what you would have, but it's the ingredients. You built the ingredients into your life. It's
That's
powerful.
good, because when she told me the ingredients that you said, I didn't associate those to anything. I was like, well, I don't really know. I mean, I'm open. I don't know.
Yeah.
Purpose? No, I don't know.
When we came up with them, we sat down with a group of our survivors and a group of our counselors and a group of our program staff, and we just said, how does someone get from here, like a closed sphere to open sphere? What's the process? And that's, everyone kind of said it differently, but then there was these 5 elements that we're left with. And what we're finding is that these we feel like they're universal elements, and it's like how God built us. And now that we've kind of identified them and we're talking them through more and keep building them out, now I see them everywhere. And whenever I'm talking to someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's time. Oh my gosh, there's purpose.
Because at first we thought these were the ingredients for a person to heal. And now we've started, and that's why you're hearing us use the word potential, because, it could be an executive that's taking his company somewhere. It could be a family who's going through a divorce, and yes, there's some healing there. It could be trauma. It could be something successful that they're trying to expand, and it's still the same ingredients because, for an executive who maybe their company's gone through something difficult and they're having to face Wall Street or the media, it's going to take some accountability. And you can either hide from it, lie about it, and you're just shrinking your potential. You're never going to be able to get better because you're not actually dealing with what you're dealing with. Or you can stand there in the fire, take the heat. And so, that's that openness of, it's a scary place to be. But if you can get real with yourself about what is, and then be willing to admit to your company, to your spouse, to your counselor, whatever the environment is about what is, then you can actually move. You can actually move forward.
Yeah.
But until you'll be honest, Andy Stanley said one time that we are masters of lying to ourselves.
Yeah, we're
Masters of lying to ourselves.
I mean, even our women, the ones that do well, are the ones that, I mean, one of our survivors said it to us the other day. My trauma isn't my crutch. Like, it's not my excuse. And even though the trauma was not self-induced, even someone took advantage of their vulnerabilities and exploited it, and it's not their fault that they were exploited, there's still this trauma that's in their life, and they still have to take ownership of it and take the ownership of their own healing in their own life, and take ownership of their thread and decide how they're going to use it.
Yeah, I think that's
amazing.
Like, not ever feeling completely stuck. I feel like, especially us as a team, when you have challenges and things come up, you look for ways to grow and to, improve and not get out of it, but work your way through it. And I think we try and do that. Like, always be growing and moving.
Yeah. Well, and you have a circle of influence, and that's what you can control. But beyond that, you've got to control it. And it doesn't mean that it's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest problems.
Yes.
It doesn't mean it's fair or even right.
Yes.
But don't look outside, because if you sit there in it, you're not going to move past it. You're going to dwell in it. Listen, get on a soapbox. I think that's a bigger conversation about how
we
to
can have
teach
it.
people to move forward, or in this world, people are in tough places and maybe not of their fault. But if they sit there and just dwell in that, they're not going to get out of it. Take it on yourself and get yourself out of it.
Yeah. I'll let Kristen talk about blame and shame, because you're touching on that. Mm-hmm. The moment they wallow in that, they're cooked. They cannot. It steals the whole potential. And then the other piece is, we talked on a previous podcast about responsibility, because your point is right. It's not fair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it is.
Yeah.
So the moment I take responsibility for something that happened to me, I'm not taking the blame that it happened. I'm taking the responsibility. I'm able to respond.
Right.
Now I have my life back. Now I am in power.
Now
control.
you're in control.
I'm in control
You're
of
giving
my
that
life.
control away when you sit there and go,
Exactly.
they did that to me. And
which is a victim mentality.
That's right.
People talk about a victim mentality, but the moment I choose to stay there, because I'm not moving forward, I'm just blaming and shaming, and maybe you want to talk about that. But
I was going to say community. That was a huge part of that process.
It's not by yourself.
No, I think doing it on your own. That's what I said. We do things a lot together through that. I mean, we have each other and other people in our lives. Mm-hmm. Doing it alone is hard. It's easier to sit in it, right? Because of what you were saying, we lie to ourselves. We talk worse to ourselves than anyone else. Mm-hmm. So we need that community and other people speaking into us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes just to borrow their hope. Because hope is an ingredient. We got to have it to be able to see. But sometimes you're in such pain, you can't see it ever getting better.
No.
But sometimes another person, and you borrow their hope for a little bit, and it takes a little time to heal, and then a little time to heal, and then a little time to heal. And what we realize is you can't do all the healing at once, because it's too hard to take that big of a bite in one bite. So it's heal a little, take some time. All of a sudden, I go a little deeper, heal a little, take some time. And that's why she said it's not linear. These things these ingredients don't come in some sort of order. They just need to be put in the pot.
Yeah. And let me just throw this thought out there as I'm thinking about it. I feel like the people that are just like, I've done it by myself, I did this all by myself, there's almost like an anger. Mm-hmm. Like, I did this by myself, you should do it by yourself too. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you probably shouldn't have had it to do by yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, there's almost like a resentment and this pride. It leads to a lot of pride. I don't know. It just doesn't. And I don't think it's true. Someone along the way helped you. Yeah.
I was about to say, there's a difference between extreme ownership.
Oh, yeah.
And I did it by myself.
I want to
make sure that that's
yes.
one.
I agree.
I'd say that was one of the values of extreme ownership and hard work, but by no means.
Do you do it by yourself?
Was it by yourself?
But people hear it like that, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that's unfortunate, because that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow that's been translated into our culture that you do it by yourself.
Yeah, that's the American way.
Yeah, it's the American way.
Bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Blame and shame. We were through this process that I was thinking about. We were kind of thinking about like what makes it expand and what makes it contract. And the biggest thing that I believe that makes your sphere contract is blame and shame. Blame is blaming others, so then it cuts you off from community. You forget you're trying to prove your purpose all the time. You don't believe things can change because you can't trust anyone. And then shame is what we talked about a little bit before, was it's all my fault. Mm-hmm. It's all my fault. You doubt your purpose. You don't believe in yourself that you can change your future. You cut yourself off from relationships and you shut down your heart and you're not open. And like, I feel like now, and we call it BS, blame and shame. And now that we've kind of identified this BS, that is also what I hear everywhere. Mm-hmm. We just had a situation with our staff, and like all I could do is think about I got to see like blame and shame crush our employees. And like and put this in this loop. And I feel like I have been stuck so many times in my life in that in BS.
Yeah, it crushes them, and it goes back to what you said. It stops you in the problem. Mm-hmm. because you cannot take control of it because it's out of your control.
Right.
I'm always going to be this way, or it's not my fault. Somebody did this to me, so I therefore have no control over this situation. And then it wastes time.
Yeah.
Time is such a precious, and every second I spend doing something other than improving my situation, it's just gone forever.
It reminds me a little bit. We did a study on our thoughts years back, Philippians, and Paul talks about taking your thoughts captive and how we should dwell on these things. And we kind of did a deep dive into that, to a word study of each one of those words of what we should dwell on. And if you start paying attention to your thoughts, you start to recognize how much we speak negatively about ourselves or the thoughts that come in our head, and then we go down a black hole. And if we can learn to recognize those things and go, no, I'm not going to think on that. I'm going to think on something that's lovely or pure or true. What's true? What's the truth? Instead of allowing those thoughts to really, because it happens really quickly.
I know, I hate it. That's what I watch take people out over and over again. So, I'm sorry, I'm analyzing myself as we go through this.
She does this so she doesn't have to pay for therapy.
It is
really not fair.
Therapeutic.
I'll pay you in some toffee. But for real, when I was 12, my parents got divorced. My dad left, and it crushed my heart. Like, crushed it. And then my dad quickly got into another relationship, got married, and all of a sudden I had like a step family. And I hated it. I hated it. I did not want it to be this way. My heart was broken, and I was so angry, like, at my dad, and so resistant. And then that's when all my thought process started. And I'm not enough. Clearly I wasn't good enough. That's why he left. I don't want this situation. This isn't what I want. And like just railed against it. And I feel like it's not until like this past year, like the realization, like I have let that thread kind of like dictate kind of my life and my relationships instead of like taking ownership. No, that's what happened. It wasn't my fault. It had nothing to do with me, really. And it is, and it still is. And like wasted so much time, I think, on bitterness and like how easy it was to just get in that it's not my fault. It's you did all this wrong, and just unpacking all that in my life and seeing how I get tangled up and all that still.
It's amazing the effect that has on a child, and then all the way up to an adult. I mean, and still.
Yeah, and I love my dad, but I can also see how it crushed him too. Like the blame and shame crushed him too through that process.
Yeah, it destroys everybody.
It destroys everybody.
Destroys everybody. Right. Everybody loses. I mean, you had to deal with this. We talked at the beginning a little bit about how the business world changed when you were going into COVID and the sourcing problems and all that stuff. You probably could have wallowed around in it. How did you move your people through it?
That's a good question.
Because you had real problems. And I think that's what I think some people listen to us talking and going, okay, you're just saying don't feel that way about something. No, we're not denying that the problems are still real. We're just talking about who's going to own them.
Right.
And you owned it and figured out a way through. And I just wonder, did your company go with you? Did you have to apply a little pressure?
That's a good question. It was scary. A lot of encouragement. We're not, like you said, we're not a large company, so we were fortunate to be staffed about right. I say staffed right. We're staffed right for what we were doing, but we would be able to reduce volume a little bit and not reduce staff. So that never really was a concern. We were honest. We were always honest. I said, hey, we will work out as long as, because there was a time The second half of
really
the
shut
last
down.
2 weeks of March of 2020. I get that right? Last 2 weeks of March of 2020, I mean, it went to zero. I mean, business everywhere, work was zero. And we didn't know, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We didn't know what that would turn into. And we thought, well, this could be it. I mean, this really could just be the end of it. And we told people, we're going to continue this as long as we can. And we're going to employ people as long as we can. There could be an end to that. I think, and we'll talk about culture, I believe. We'll get into that. But I think that our team, I think they do. I think they trust us and believe that we're honest. And we have always been honest, not sugarcoating, saying, well, your jobs are 100% secure. I didn't know if any of our, mine wasn't secure. So I think we were honest in saying what was really coming, but that we'll do the best thing. And we're going to do the best thing with the information that we have at the time. And then we'll just make the next best decision. We talk about that all the time. Look, we make a decision now with what we have now. And then we'll make the next decision when that time comes. But there's no reason to fret over it right now.
I think that's a brilliant
Do you guys read
skill.
the same
People,
books? I'm serious. You are quoting each other. Like, what books are you reading?
maybe that's why I started yelling amen so loud. I mean, so many people think they have to have the whole map, and I think I've learned, certainly in my spiritual walk, that he don't give us the whole map.
No.
Because then I get cocky. Then it's me doing it.
Right.
And he knows good and well I'm going to take credit for it.
Well, that's another study that we're doing now. He wants us in the desert, knowing that we have to rely on him for our next drink of water, not in the empire in Egypt, to where we know what's coming, because then that's on us. That's on humans. He wants us out there relying on him for that next thing. And reason I hesitated when you said, how did you get your company through it? Because we have gotten to a place, I had to get to that place doing the company because it was such a stressful thing, to where I just gave it to him and said, look, I believe you brought this company and the opportunity to me. And if it's a failure, if we go bankrupt after 2 years, that was you taking me through what you think I needed to go through. And if it's a success, it'll be because you have granted me the success. It's not as of me. Not me, I'm not going to work and blah, 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 all the stuff.
Right.
But it's not going to be because I made this company a success. So when the pandemic hit, when people really sat there and fretted, to me, I was like, well, this could be the end of the road, and I guess I'll go back and be a superintendent for somebody and build house. It's like, well, that might be where the cookie crumbles. But as a leader, you can't say, well, I get it, guys, if the company doesn't keep going, I guess we'll just
Have a nice day.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
honesty comes up
yeah,
again.
just being honest. That's right.
Yeah,
Just being
openness.
honest. And I think they appreciate, I don't think, I worked for a corporate, for, like I said, a big national builder before that was very corporate, ivory tower, hard. The communication between was hard. It was a game, right? We were a show to make sure that we looked good for them. There was never honesty. There was never tact. It was all about profit over people. And man, I learned from it. It was, and people didn't trust them, therefore weren't loyal to them, therefore XXXX. So when we started this, it was like, we're not going to do it that way. We'll be honest, and man, have people responded,
That's an amazing thing, because it takes a ton of courage up front to do it, because we think people are going to freak and bail on us, but people are more likely to go to the absolute mat with you.
Yes. People are more loyal to the company than the company is to them, generally, throughout. And it's weird to say that, because you think, well, no, you got so many people out there. People are hard workers and are loyal to their company to a fault. And really, when you treat them right, then they're even more loyal and wanted to, they.
And there's something about the honesty and the vulnerability when things aren't good that builds trust even better than honesty and vulnerability when things are all going great.
Yeah, I think so.
People can see through the fakeness, I think.
Yes.
I think they can see through it.
But even in, sorry, we're going to go back. Even in COVID, our birthday's in the end of July, and you still gave us money.
Well,
I mean, you still gave us. I would assume that hurt a lot that year.
So how did y'all come to that? I know I'm giving enough when it hurts. I thought that was a brilliant sentence. And I just...
you know what? The Bible talks about being a happy giver.
Yeah.
And as I said, I have evolved. She has helped me in many, many ways. I was not always a happy giver because I'm frugal. I'm a frugal person. I'm frugal in my life. I'm frugal with the business. My partners joke about how I said I'm so tight that I squeak when I walk. So just being giving was hard. Like, you work hard and you make this money, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we need to give for this or for that. And it's like, well, but I need to. So we set it aside. And that's how it has helped me to be a happy giver, to where when it comes in, and this is personally, business, but I think about us personally, it goes into a separate account. So you make this, and then this percent goes into this account, and then it's there. And so when somebody comes along and has a issue, Robyn just did a Bible study this morning, came back with a thing in Nairobi where they're going to help kids go to education. She was like, I think we should give to this. And it's like, it's there. And now I'm happy to give that. It's just helped me personally, just because it's something that I had to get over, to not be miserly, really. So
intentional planning.
Yes, 100%.
And sometimes you just do the next right thing, whether you feel it or not.
Well, and that's it,
and the
too.
feelings can come later.
Right. You don't want to give God the excess. And when I say give God, that's everything. It's given to Rethreaded. It's given to somebody that just needs $1. It's not only giving to your church or we've always kind of said that you need to give. No, you don't give every Sunday. You need to be giving. And you need to just be giving, be a happy giver. So again, not giving out of excess, give first, and then the rest will come, I think that's where the hurt comes, right? When you give first, not like, well, we've paid all our bills and now we have this left over. So
now
let's
it's comfortable.
That. Yeah, we're fine.
I see.
Let's give
understand.
that. And then we'll adjust everything else.
It's also taking the view that we're managers of the money, managers of our family, managers of what our company,
stewards.
And that it's God's, and He's put us here to be good stewards of all of it. And I mean, that's your time, your purpose, really all of it. You're just given, the Lord's given us all that.
Yeah, we're passed through.
Right.
We're conduit.
I mean, and and then when we become prideful, He tends to remind us that.
So fun. So that's a great lead into the question. Out of all those of time, purpose, vision, community, openness, which one do you struggle the most with?
Other than openness, I struggle with all of them. I mean, honestly.
That is funny because you started off with that. I value openness with accountability. Yeah.
I mean, I'm always working on time management. Vision, I'm an operator. Like, I'm just naturally an operator, so I tend to put my hands in and try to fix. So being visionary is something I've just had to work on my whole life. So it doesn't come natural to me. So I struggle with that. But leading a business, you need to be that way. Purpose, I mean, I don't know. I'm always working through what is my purpose, and
that'll be
still
the
don't know what
follow-up
it is.
question.
And then community was the other one, but I don't see it on there. But community, I'm.
That should say community probably.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
purpose
probably.
twice.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, because
Speaking
Robyn
of
has community.
Organization and planning. I wrote that for you.
I mean, if I came home every day and she was there and I knew that my kids were good, I'm good. Like, that's about as much community as I need. That's not good. I'm not saying it's healthy, but that's just kind of how I am. I don't know. I don't have a huge community. I probably have more than I think. Like, I have people that I would reach out to, but we just don't do things all the time. I'm not a guy that's always on guys' trips or out with buddies or whatever. So.
Were you going to say something?
I figured you were going to say it
No.
just takes one.
Just takes one, yeah. Doesn't mean.
So community,
Yeah.
it gets misconstrued and misunderstood when we talk about it a lot, even inside our own building when we were first fleshing this out. Because we have a lot of introverts that work at Rethreaded, but they're doing incredible impact work. And so they're like, well, community, I'm an introvert. I don't spend a lot of time out and all. But there's no way Rethreaded does what Rethreaded does without each one of those introverts being connected to a community of human beings that are Rethreaded. And so, I mean, you have your business, that's a community.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And you're achieving a tremendous amount of potential because all of those guys are loyal and out doing your bidding. I mean, it's not like that. It's the wrong words, but, you have your church community and stuff. So yeah, you do. You've got more than, and then the openness to rely on people, I think, is something that you can do.
Yes.
I don't know how easy it comes to you, but I mean, you're open with the band
I'm fine
and stuff
with that.
like that.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm not a control freak or at all.
Yeah, I think it's funny looking at it. I think at different times, we kind of touched on that before, you'll struggle with different pieces of it. So purpose for me, I think over the past year has been something I've been wrestling with because of the shift of our family and the kids, moving on and not needing as much from me. And I've devoted so much time into that. And I think vision too. I don't want to not call myself a visionary at all. Yeah, I don't know.
But do you have hope for the future and believe things can change?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's vision.
Yeah. I have faith in that. And I think openness there have been times where I've struggled with trust. I think we talked about that. And that goes back to even just trusting God to handle everything. That truly relying on him at the end of the day is where I need to fall. And not wanting to be in control. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of our ladies, and when we've been talking about this, that are mothers, they default to my purpose as being a mother. And as we talked it through with them, we started to realize, no, your purpose is bigger than that. And it plays out in your role as a mother, and it plays out in your role as a friend. So I imagine there's something in you that just is the way you impact the world. I mean, I see the way you engage with the ladies and that kind of stuff. You're building humans. Oh, and you also did it at home. And so, yes, the role of mother becomes less as they start moving away because you've done it with them, but doesn't change all the ladies that you're touching in the stuff you're doing through church and the stuff you're doing through Rethreaded. It's the same purpose. I am built to bring this into the world. Oh, and I did it with my kids as well.
Right.
It was a role I played.
Yeah, it's something I've got to think over the past, 6 months. I've been following this guy named Jamie Winship. Y'all can look him up. He's awesome about your identity and finding your identity in who the Lord says you are and not who the world defines you as. Because the world wants to put labels on us. Like, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a business owner, you're this, you're that. But God gives us our true identity and purpose. And when we can find that, we can take it in every area of our life. So it's been really life-changing for me to walk through that during this season. Especially because it's also people will ask you, so what do you do? So what,
You are what you do.
Right.
You're not.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to bounce this to you in a second because I'm sure there's something that you want to talk about when it comes to, that'll come back to me in a minute.
Okay.
But I'm sure that purpose played out in how you run your company and how you raise your boys, how you raise your kids. and you start seeing, oh, okay, those start flipping switches. So for those people that are listening, start looking at, okay, where am I?
It's the same core values.
My same core values show up in these different roles. Oh, okay,
right.
that's going to start being some road signs.
Yeah, so Matthew has our family do what he has
I love this.
his employees do. Every year in January, he gives us a vision board. Is that what it's called, honey? We call it the wheel.
The wheel. It's the circle.
Yeah, it's the circle.
The
It's
goal,
the wheel.
I call it the goal circle. But
We call it the wheel because it looks like a wheel. And we all have to sit down and write out our vision or goals for the year. And then we bring out our one from the year before. And we look and see where we were successful, where we weren't, and where we're moving. And it's become really fun. He reminded me, he's like, yeah, Leela wasn't too crazy about that, I think, when we first started doing
any of
it.
them liked it.
Yeah,
A while ago,
Davis
but now
was
they
so
like
little. I can go back and look at his first one, what he wrote down.
That's brilliant.
I mean, it was like financial goals for like a 9-year-old. I don't know what he was.
But where else do you learn that in the world?
Yeah.
I mean, we're taking adults through it at Rethreaded.
Right.
We're teaching adults how to do that. And we went to a training that a friend of ours, Wally, does, and it's the same thing. And he and his wife review it every Sunday.
Wow.
Oof.
Every Sunday.
Think
And
about
there's accountability back and forth about here's the things we're going to get. And so it's like, I don't know if you've heard us talking about our level 10 meetings at Rethreaded. You know, it's from Traction, which is something that we use. So yeah, it's about, imagine teaching your kids to live life intentionally,
Right.
write it down, plan for it, and then go execute
Well,
it. That's a
begin-
brilliant thing to teach a kid.
Begin with the end in mind, right?
Yeah,
That's the-
there you go.
So you read the same
Chapter 3.
because I'm reading that book now and
Right now,
you are quoting it.
Chapter 3. By the way, will y'all email us a PDF of the circle? And Kyra, maybe we can pop that in,
Yes.
at least in the video, because I think that's really, really cool, and it's something families can do. And yes, it feels awkward anytime a family's going to say we're going to stand for something. We got these values, and it feels weird, but I guess it eventually gets normalized.
Oh, I think now it's fun. When are we doing our family dinner with the wheel? And now it's like, when are we doing?
Last year went through New Year's because I think somebody, Rush and Hannah weren't with us or whatever, so they were like,
Remember, Leela was already back in
afterwards, and
Auburn,
she
so
was-
she had to FaceTime us and do the
That
whole
is
thing.
so neat.
I know.
Are
Well,
Russ
and
and
it's
Hannah
so
doing
good.
it in their family too?
Rush,
Yeah.
well, I mean, they did it
Well,
with
those
us.
two, yeah.
They just came over. We
Yeah.
do a family dinner and do it all.
Neato.
Well, it's just
But,
so
yeah.
it makes you think. I mean, obviously we do. You know, I did it, and business-wise did it. But it's so helpful for yourself because you sit there and it makes you think, right? You think, oh, good gracious, what am I going to do? Because it has social, spiritual, financial, educational, physical, and it makes you come up. It's like, crap, I need to come up with a physical goal, or now I got to come up with a financial goal, and just makes you think about all those things. So yeah, for them to be having to at least think about those things they're outstanding.
Can you share some of your goals?
Oh yeah. Let's think about them. Well, I'm thinking about the big goals. I have to think about this year what we did specifically. One of our big goals, and both of ours was the same, was pay our house off. And it wasn't this year, it was a couple years ago, but that was one of our big goals that we had in financial, and we did it, which was outstanding. Like educational, it was 3 Bible studies and 2 commercial, because we opened a commercial construction company and doing some commercial development. So it had 2 commercial development books on my educational. What else do we have? Social. Oh, I had a social, was to start a men's group.
I've done that.
I did not do that. I failed on that one.
Well, you still got
Still
a couple
time.
months,
Still got
honey.
time. Look
You're
at
part of a
Already
men's
doing
group.
I know.
I am part of it. That's right.
You are part of a men's group.
That is right. So I can scratch that off.
I think we wanted to spend more time with our parents. I mean, we have separate
Yeah.
ones, obviously, but I think we both had put that one on there. Be more intentional about spending time with them.
Yeah, I had call my brother. I mean, my brother's in New Jersey, so it was call my brother once a month, dinner with my parents or lunch with my parents once a month. Call Leela once a week, my daughter at college, just to make sure that she talks to her every day. Mm-hmm. So I really just come home and say, oh, what's Leela doing? And she tells me, and I'm like, I need to call her and talk to her myself. So, some of those more
So good.
immediate goals.
I love it.
It's fun. It's become a fun thing.
That's an incredible tool. I hope people will use it. My goodness, it'll change their life.
So What advice? So we'll go back to to business world, because we talk about at Rethreaded valuing people over profit. And maybe in theory, I said that when I started Rethreaded, people come first. And then it's so quickly I get overwhelmed and stressed out. And that is not true. I mean, and then I have to be like pulled way back. Oh yeah, people. How does that look practically in your business to value people over profit?
I think it's it's kind of easy to quantify that in our business, because there are a lot of decisions that come down in the construction industry, especially with homeowners. And when I say value people over profit, it's everybody. And if you read our core values, it's your staff, your team members, it's the homeowners, it's the subcontractors, it's the developers, it's your partners, it's your vendor, it's everybody. So just, like an example is when we do a warranty call on a home, there's right and there's wrong. Well, like that's warrantable or that's not warrantable. Well, it's not as black and white as that. It might cost us a little bit of money, but we'll probably go ahead and just take care of that because that's going to make a difference to you. Or, for staff, just give them a little extra, or they had to, they did something extraordinary. So you get, it's those little, that's what I really learned being with a corporation. They were so, and I say tactful, it was so untactful how they treated. They made such big decisions over minor dollars that hurt them exponentially in the long run, emotionally with their staff. It just things that were just silly. $100 decision that to that corporation was nothing. Higher dollars than that, right? A rounding error for them. To somebody down here, an assistant superintendent who's married with kids and struggling to make it work, just crushed them. And they couldn't foresee that. There's too many, and I understand as you grow, regulations have to come into play, but that type of thing. So you can see that quantifiable through our business. And I think probably all businesses, I just see it very plain in construction because you can come up with specific examples. But it's not just to, when I say, people ask me, why do you do people over profit? Why are you so big on culture? There's two reasons. One, because I spend most of my waking hours at work, and I do not want to work with people I don't like and where I'm not enjoying it, because then your life's miserable. Now, when we were first married, my job was miserable, and my life was great, but overall, it wasn't good because the job was so bad. So that's one. I want to work and I want everybody else to work where they enjoy work. But two, it's good business. You make more money when your people are happy. They work harder for you when they're happy. You don't have attrition when they're happy. It's not just frou-frou, let's, have a good work environment here, but we're going to sacrifice dollars. It's good business, and it helps profit. It helps quality of product. It helps all the things that everybody tries to achieve in their business while making it more enjoyable. So,
y'all read the same books? I'm serious. Jason says, I want you to enjoy. That's the goal of the staff. I want you to enjoy coming to work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What book is that? What book is that?
It's a bunch of them.
That's what I was saying.
Probably every management book ever. But
all the leadership books. What we talk about is that there's so many leadership books.
Yeah.
There's so many leadership books. There's so many things. And they're all kind of saying the same thing in different ways. Mm-hmm. And I still feel like it's something that you have to learn and be so intentional to implement day in and day out, is how to take care of your people and make sure you keep humans.
Yes.
And manage humans fairly. Because it's so easy to switch the other way. It must be, because everyone writes a book about it.
And nobody does it.
Some
people do it, but very few companies actually run that way because it takes a lot of courage. And at some point, there's a cost. There is a sacrifice to do the right thing. And most companies aren't willing to pay that price.
But that's what I'm saying, is that they're not willing to pay the price, but if they're paying the price, they win. The staff's better, you get more profit. Like, it's shown you do this and your business is better. And all over. Eventually, yeah.
Or just overall, your lifestyle is better.
Mm-hmm.
You might not make as much money as somebody else is doing it a different way, but you're
Well, and I don't know. I mean,
enjoyable.
Maybe there's a size that it gets to where maybe when you get to the corporate level and you're publicly traded. But in my experience to where we're at, it's been better.
I don't know. That's a great question, though.
It is.
We were a guest that we had last week. They're just like, just drive through 2 different fast food lines. And they're like, and you can like compare the 2 fast food lines. Here's one that has culture that values people. Here's one that doesn't. And here's the difference of when you go through it.
Which one do you want to go through?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
And so that's
true.
a corporation.
Yeah. You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That paid a price.
Yeah.
Now they've never had a year of decrease. My understanding is.
Yeah.
So
And they're closed on Sundays.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there's been a PR cost to that. There's been, there's a price they had to pay, and you have to be willing to make the price up front, even if I don't get it back on the back end.
See where it's hard to quantify it is the immediate profit or the immediate expense is less and the immediate profit is more. But what's the long term, right?
Yep.
What's the vision?
Because you don't see attrition on a P&L.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that Sunday they could have made more money on Sunday.
Yeah.
But who doesn't respect them holding tight to that, even when they were in a mall that was open on Sunday and paying the fine for not being open?
And now they have
every
freaking drive-through has people around the
Double.
block at 7:00 at night. It's unbelievable.
Or if they get into hot water on social media, they have people to come out and support them and line up just to support them because they want to support them.
Because you stand for something.
Because you stand for something.
And you have good service. I mean,
That's true.
you have a good product.
A good
and
product.
service.
Right. You
That's
can't be sloppy. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. You're right. You still have to do it goes back to what you said. You still have to do the hard work.
Yeah, right.
You still have to do the hard work. You don't get to just kick back and go, all right, thank you, God, give it to me.
Right.
No. You got to show up the next morning and actually work
Again,
all day.
the satisfied employee making a chicken sandwich as opposed to the disgruntled, frustrated, mad employee making a chicken sandwich. Which one's going to be a better chicken sandwich?
Yep.
It's true. That's why our toffee's so good.
That's right.
There you go.
I mean,
We live in the
it's
house
already
kitchen.
good, but then,
That's made with heart.
Yeah.
It's made with heart and joy.
Yeah.
There is joy in the kitchen.
There's joy in the kitchen.
do you guys have a moment you can share? We're calling them full circle moments. So this is kind of where your threads of hard things is combined with a moment where kind of your thread becomes your potential. So it's the moment kind of like where your pain gets switched over and you see the potential. And it's no longer like stopping you, it's adding to your life. And you can hold both the pain and the potential in your sphere. If that makes any sense yet. I'm still working on the wording.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't really know if this quantifies as that, but I'm just thinking of a moment where I felt really full. And I think last year we took a family vacation to Yellowstone, and it was just the 6 of us, and it was a whole week together, and we had the best time, even though there was so many disasters in it. We were staying in tents. We were glamping, and it was really cold. It wasn't supposed to be that cold. So we were all freezing. I think Hannah got sick one night. But we had the best time. And the kids even say, that was just the best time. Like, we talk about it all the time. And I think having adult children, Davis obviously isn't quite an adult, but just being together and having fun and feeling full and also blessing them and not worrying about, the vacation itself and just being able to enjoy it felt to me like a full circle moment.
What's like all those sacrifices, all the time you invested, all the wheels you made with your kids, and like to be able to
the
see
fights we broke up between them. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to see them like we love each other and enjoy being together was really special.
Yeah, because you've built a community that can now weather storms. I mean,
Yeah, even the freezing cold.
even the freezing cold, weather storms. Yeah.
Mine, I think we've talked about it on spots throughout, but there was a time kind of in, I can't remember exactly when it would have been, 2010, 11, kind of in the height of the Great Recession. I was unfortunately still employed, but I mean, there was fear of being laid off all the time. And I was just in a place to where I was extremely frustrated. And I was frustrated because I didn't see myself getting the things I wanted. And I didn't even see it in the future. I didn't see financially me being able to get the things that I wanted. And it was all material things, right? But it started weighing on me enough that it just, kind of got me down and just really was hurting me. And it's one of the first times that I've prayed to God. I was raised in church, but the first time that I sat and I really prayed that he would take that desire away from me. And I continuously prayed about it, and I don't know at what point, but at some point he absolutely did. To where I was content with what I had. And it was him completely. I mean, it changed my feeling inside. And I joke now, and I've said it to her a million times, she doesn't agree, but I could live in a shipping container and I would be fine.
Once he was finished with it, it'd be great. I've seen some nice shipping container homes.
No, I really pray for that, and he took it away from me and gave me a contentment like Paul, and that is what I had prayed for. Well, then an opportunity came in 2012 to start the business, and all of that happened. And when I look back in hindsight, I realized that, and I'd had opportunities before to start my own business, partner with this developer, or partner with this guy, and it never worked out. In hindsight, I look back and I realized that God didn't give me that opportunity until my heart was mature enough to take it. Because had I had that opportunity when I still had that desire for those material things, which came along with that not happy giver heart, I would have not have used it correctly. And so for him waiting till, for me to turn to him to ask for help, which was one of my first times really, truly relying on him, putting my heart in a place that I was mature enough to handle a successful business, which I had to rely on him continuously as we started to not jump off a bridge because it was stressful. Yeah. But then just being able to give that up to him, and then being able to be a steward. I mean, that's what it is, a steward of his business, not our business. And now to be where we're at, to where, when we started the business, we liquidated some IRAs, we dipped into 401k. I mean, it was a stretch. It was really a tough stretch, but I mean, we both had faith and it was fine. And that's when we kind of turned and said, we have got to get out of debt. If we're going to be in this industry, it's a cyclical industry. We got to be out of debt. We just cannot rely on this business to pay for things that we've bought that we still owe money on. Yeah. And we did. We put our heads down and we got out of debt. And it's funny, we were talking about the comment about give till it hurts. And it's a little bit of a struggle now because we don't have any debt. So we set aside, but is it hurting right now? Yeah. Maybe not as much as it should. Because now, I mean, it's not like before it hurt because it was like, golly, we still have a house payment and this payment and this payment and, all this, and we got to give. And that kind of hurt. Well, now you don't have any payments. And it's like, well, that, the money's really just for us to use or for us to invest. And now it's like, well,
right, like how much more do we need to give?
How much more do we need to give? Because right now when we give, it doesn't really, it's not hurting. But man, what a place to be in, right? I mean, that's from me not wanting to give and being childish about hurting because I'm not going to get material things, to then God blessing us with a business that I run with my best friend and a family just a wonderful family that has afforded us to get ourselves debt free, pay for kids' college, all of that good stuff, set us up for a great life, and then give and give and give. So.
And I will give credit to the Wood family as well for their giving heart has been a huge influence on us too. Yeah. I mean, they go above and beyond.
Is that through example, or you have conversations about it, or both? Or
Both.
What is their philosophy on the give?
They are when you talk about I mean, I know they give, like, because they have set, like I said, I met Rick on a project, but our relationship was because we were talking about the mission that he does in Haiti. So they give and have set parameters that they give, but they are a giving family. They are just giving. They would give you anything, the shirt off their back. They would do anything for you. And that's Rick and Susie, Chris and Chloe,
Emily and Kyle.
Yeah. They're just a giving family. And that's what has really influenced us. Yeah.
You talked about earlier that sometimes we need to be in the desert, or God keeps us in the desert so that we stay dependent on Him. And I mean, Chris and I have talked a little bit about kind of my journey to Rethreaded, and I think yours kind of resonates there too, that there is a time in the desert, and you're going to stay there till you learn the lesson. Because you probably would run your company the same way the corporation does.
Right. That's exactly
if it was about getting the money and getting the things and that kind of stuff. But the moment you were able to break that, He knew He had you where you were, you said, mature enough, and I agree with that you can love people now over profits, whereas until you were ready.
Until I was ready.
You probably wouldn't have. And so if He'd handed you all of that stuff, you could have made a royal mess out of it.
Yeah.
And me too. I mean, so, you know, it's like, you have to go through that.
Yeah.
You need the time. You have to take the time. And we all want to be in a rush and check the boxes and get to the next level and get to the next level and check the boxes. And
I love checking boxes.
And it's like, you got to take the time. And if you don't learn a lesson while you're there, well, then you're just going to keep going around the block till you do learn the lesson.
40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the desert.
And I think I've seen that at Rethreaded, just giving people, women, the space and the time to allow their sphere to grow. It's not going to happen overnight.
And we learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we used to think it's, it's a
right, 2-year
program, 3-year program.
Yeah.
And then Kristen uses the terminology, give them time lavishly.
Well, if you kind of think about the thread, we're all our own thread. So we're not going to do anything the same. We're going to need our own space and time and community and purpose. So if we're each a thread and we're bringing our own thread to the table, it's all going to look different.
Yeah, and that's, kind of touching on that's trauma-informed care, is individual intention to what does this person need to reach their potential, and individually seeing each person and see how they're different and what do they need. Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but it's beautiful to see it because I get to see it firsthand. So it's a beautiful thing to see. All of it. It's just so rewarding and life-giving to see what's happening there.
And you get to work with like the most loved person at Rethreaded.
Yeah.
I think she's the most loved person at Rethreaded ever, possibly in our history.
Lisa's incredible. I mean, there's just no question about it.
She's
she
so
has
loved.
brought a whole nother thing into that organization.
She's a gift.
Yeah.
So are you.
Well, we all are, right?
She raves about the team y'all built.
Oh, it's awesome. We have a special little place over there. I know, but we're going to be coming over soon, I hear.
Coming over soon.
I'm so
Yeah.
Yep.
So right now, Robyn works in the toffee kitchen, for those of you listening, and she's on the toffee team, but the toffee team is not on our campus yet. They are on an off-site kitchen, and we're finishing our kitchen, and it's taken so long. Speaking of time and trying to believe there's a purpose in time. But when we have that grand opening of that kitchen, it's going to be so much fun.
It is going to be fun.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun.
We're going to have quite the shindig.
Oh yeah. And then, it's going to be fun.
What's exciting in y'all's world? What's next? What's that thing that you're working on that you're excited, either in the company or at home?
That's interesting. So, company-wise, like I said, Riverside is funny. When we started the company, I said, if we can just make it 10 years, I'll know at least what, even if it falls apart after 10 years, I'll say, well, at least it worked. It was a success. So, I mean, we've hit that. We're on our 11th year, and Riverside Homes is doing well. We have started a commercial construction company just because we feel like diversification is needed with things that are going on in our industry.
Is there any specialty in commercial, or is just all
Our
commercial?
first
Or how does that work?
project is it really lays in perfect for us because it's a build for rent community. So it's what we call a horizontal apartment complex. So it's a bunch of duplexes. So it's got a very residential feel. So it's kind of a good transition. But we've also brought in a really high level commercial guy to partner with us on this one. So there's hopefully big things coming there. Kind of sky's the limit. I personally, a lot going. Family-wise, we got a lot going on. Her and I are about to spend a bunch of time together and travel together and just have a blast together, and I can't wait for that.
Motorhome, airplanes?
No, she's not. I would love to take a motorhome trip across,
I would
but she
do a
said I'll
motorhome
fly me.
trip.
She wants to ride a motorcycle in a tent.
No,
She
we
like
would
that
do all
tent.
of
I would do all of that. Same book, same. You want to go with me?
Yeah. Why don't you and I take? Why don't you stay here and do my job, Robin, and I'll go with him on a motorcycle trip.
You're basically the same people.
Yes, you are.
I love Matt.
Crazy. Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. Davis, our youngest, is all into music, and he gigs around town, and so that's kind of fun. We have that going on. We love going up to Auburn, seeing Leela, and we're about to have a grand dog. Give a shout out to Obi.
I was about to.
Grand dog.
Wait, what?
You're like, you waited to this podcast to tell me this?
Nope, no grandbaby
grandkids
yet. Grand dog's
It's probably
coming.
not that far off, but yeah.
Yeah,
Grand dog.
but they're super excited about the puppy they're about to get. So
It's a good first step.
it is.
Parenthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, it was good. We have a good space. I feel like
It's a good place.
yeah.
So what is your one nugget for people that are listening about this Rethreaded process?
About the Rethreaded process.
I would say don't let the BS get in the way. Like really look at all the different areas and don't let that blame and shame, those thoughts, the lies, all of that stop you from getting to your full potential.
Yeah, I'd probably say, and this is coming off of a Bible study I'm doing right now, so it's just what's in my head, but God is satisfied with you. He created man, and it was good, and he is satisfied with you, and you can rest in that. That's it. It's been really helpful for me to hear that for myself.
Silence is the BS.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
It's the shame,
Yeah.
the blame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your
awesome.
lives with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are incredible.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you so much.
Thanks for walking with us on this journey.
We heading down to Adamak now? Pick them out?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I said Davis has to at least be 18, remember?
Before he can buy a bike? Come on.
6 months. Got to start looking.
That's right. You want to get a good deal, you got to work it.
I got to work it.
Oh,
All right. Thank you, Roberts.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us, guys.
All right.
Thank you.